two dirty painters to multiple seven-figure business owners. I'm Redion.
And I'm Karmelo.
We'll be giving you guys the easier secrets to take your trades business to the next level.
From crazy stories to proven strategies, get ready to supercharge your business with us.
Welcome to the Dirty Painters Podcast.
In today's episode, we will be covering the top 10 things that top-performing sales professionals do differently than the average individual. Keep listening to learn how you can apply these strategies to your daily routine. Let's get right into it.
All right.
Top 10 things salespeople or top-performing salespeople do differently.
All right, so
Why are we talking about this now?
the last few months I've been working with a lot of people in sales with our own teams, our consulting clients, and now the new people who are onboarding with Cloudbus, and we're doing business coaching. And we did consulting for a very, very big company out there. And then I noticed there's people who absolutely fucking suck in sales, and they shouldn't be doing sales at all. No matter how much we train them, they should just stay out of it. And then there's actually some really, really fucking killers out there that they're crushing it. They're just insane how good they are at sales. So based on working on them, I just came up with some of the best salespeople are doing that I see on the day-to-day, and then comparing it to what the lowest performers are doing that they suck. That's pretty much it. That's how I came up with it. I'm like, okay, these guys fucking suck. These guys are good. Let's see what the top performers are doing that works.
All right, so you want to start with number one?
Yeah.
They focus on getting better versus making money. Improving their sales skills and understanding human behavior becomes their top priority. Money is inevitable to come, and it's a byproduct of hard work and self-improvement.
All right, so to build up on that, people buy from people. How many times have we said that in this podcast from the beginning?
Million times.
Yeah, people buy from people. So you should really focus on becoming a better human being and understanding basic human communication and understanding people's wants and needs and learning how to talk to them versus focusing on how can I make my next sale, how can I make more money. That's what I mean by that. Like those guys, the top performers that I've dealt and worked with, they really focus on being a better, more understanding human being for the potential prospects. And then they put themselves second and they put the customer first, and they understand what their wants and needs are. And they understand that they're there to fulfill those wants and needs. And that's what they focus on. And that they read a lot of books, they go to a lot of seminars, or when we do the one-on-one coaching, main question is asking, like, how can I understand my customers' needs better? That's number one.
Number two, speed kills. Oh my God, how many times we've said this. Mm-hmm. Top performing sales reps are action takers. They take action immediately as soon as they sense the opportunity. They don't bullshit around, wait to engage a lead or call a customer. They'll do a same-day appointment or estimate if they have open slots, and they'll try to close on the spot and not drag out the process. On the last one, I have a real-life example of me, because in the very beginning when I was selling, I would get people excited and everything, and then they would say, okay, let's arrange another meeting, or, we'll arrange the day of the pickup for the cabinets this date. I wouldn't get a signature or like a deposit, and I would just be like on their good faith, good word, like, okay, I'll see you then. And then 2 days like 2 days before the date comes around, like no responses, nothing, and that lead just gets burned. And then recently, how I've evolved is yesterday, actually, I just had this appointment that I signed the client on the spot. I did the color consultation with samples on the spot because I did my pre-screening and knew what colors they wanted to see, and also arranged a door pickup and picked up the deposit the same day. Because that prospect, if I let it drag out and tell them like, oh, okay, yeah, I can come this day for the signing and the color consultation, who knows, they might like.
You have to get them hot and ready.
Yeah.
You have to. Speed kills. And it drives me nuts, especially when we generate a lot of leads and we see reps taking hours, days to even make the first point of contact with those leads. Oh my guys, we need to be responding to those leads within the first 5 minutes they come in, and then call them. And if they don't answer, then we call them again, text them, email them. We have to make until we get them on the phone, or until they tell us to fuck off. It's one of the two. Speed is everything. And then once you get them on the phone, how fast can you go out there? Because our job as a sales rep is to go into appointments and sell. How fast can you get there? Then, how fast can you produce the job? But as a sales rep, your focus is how fast you respond to the lead, how fast you book an appointment, how fast you turn around an estimate. Because another thing that I saw a lot is people will go to an estimate, they'll spend an hour there, and then they'll spend 2-3 hours and maybe take them a day to send out an estimate on the email. I'm like, dude, you just lost it right there. There's your issue. That's why you're not closing. You take too long. You drag out the process too long. You need to be closing on the spot. So speed, how fast are you doing things?
Number 3, they know their scripts and sales process. It's engraved in their brain. It becomes an extension of themselves. They practice their scripts every day. It's like riding a bike for them. They don't think how to ride the bike. They just ride it. You can't read the script 5 times and think you know it. You're not thinking about remembering the script. When you're with a customer, you just know it. And that's very true.
So Karmelo, I'll attest to this. He's never done script work with me. I never forced him, but Karmelo is so good at what he sells. Because he sold it so many times that he created his own script. And that's a unique situation. Also, he used to be the best cabinet sprayer. He's a business owner. It's different when he sells. Versus you take me, which I didn't have. Also, he saw me selling. He's been watching me sell for 4 years. But then you get me. I never had a sales experience before. I was never in the sales setting. I never saw anybody sell, actually. Never. I've never shadowed anybody doing sales. So I needed a script. I didn't have the process down. I had to, how many times you come to estimates with me in the beginning and I was like, I would run out of things to say.
A lot of times.
I had no scripts. I had no blueprint to follow. So what I would do is I created my own script. I found one that was good for painting. And I literally repeated that thing 1,000 times. I literally know where the bullet points are. I know where the fucking commas are, everything. So I had to repeat that because I didn't have the luxury of shadowing anybody. Also, I was not as experienced as Karmelo was coming into the business selling by watching me, by being in the field. So I was not good. I had to repeat the sales script thousands of times so I can become proficient, so I'm not lagging. For example, you go into an estimate with Karmelo, and he flows so well. He flows so nicely. He doesn't pause. He's not blabbering. He's not fucking bullshitting. He goes straight to the point. Boom. Because he's done it some things. He has experience. Versus when I was going in the beginning without a script, I would stumble. I would run out of things to say. I was trying to remember the script. And I would fucking botch the sales because people are like, okay, this guy can't even fucking put a sentence together. What is he doing here? If you have a good script that's been back tested and proven, you repeat it so many times that it's like we said, engraved in your brain. You don't have to think about it. So you know exactly like our 10-step sales process. You know when you get to the customer, you're at step number 7. You already know what you have to do. And if they bring an objection or an obstacle, you're not thinking about how to handle it. It's already in your brain. You're like, okay, boom, boom, boom. That's how I handle this. This is the objection. That's what I have to say. This is the question I need to ask. And how does that come? By repetition. Putting the reps in and then engraving the script in your brain. Pretty much it. That's it.
When shadowing, because originally I was shadowing you a lot on sales. I was there for the bad times. And then when you got really good at sales, but do you recommend people to just not mimic exactly the person you're shadowing or just take key points?
So when we have people shadowing, and then me, I never realized that because my brother took what I was doing good and then he put his own twist and he made it natural. But what I run into, especially when I train people, I train them, I say things, I do things, and they try to copy. If I cough, they'll fucking cough. They try to copy everything.
Body language.
Yeah. And I have my own way of selling. They try to copy everything and it comes out very unnatural. Or even the way they ask questions. Like me, I'll ask a question. It'll come because I actually care. But they'll try and ask a question just so they'll be like, oh, I did the script. No, you cannot copy everything like to exact. You need to add your own twist. Get the good principles and then make them your own. You can't, because then you're going to come unnatural and then people will pick up that you're just following a script. How many times people call you on the phone and you can tell they're following a script?
Yeah, especially when you like throw off a curveball, like ask a question or something like,
yeah, they don't know.
Okay, well.
And I like spending time with those people on the phone because I'm like, okay, let me see how good are they. Low skill sales reps or are they good skill? Can they handle objections or they just follow a script? And then most of you guys out there, you just, even if you have a script, you just try and copy it, carbon copy it, and then you just sound very unnatural. And then customers will pick up on it because customers, they buy every day. They can pick up bullshitters. They can pick up when they're trying to be forced to buy something, all that. That's why you need to follow the script, repeat it, and then give it your own twist. Make it more natural. Make it more your own.
Number 4, they don't take rejection personal. Someone doesn't answer or no shows, they stay consistent. They know it's a numbers game, so they keep working on their leads. Some of the top reps, they'll follow up with a lead a minimum of 7 times. My personal one, I think 4 times.
But the average I saw, it's like the top guys were following up 7 times with a lead. They were just following up until they got a no or a fuck off, or they set up an appointment. Because a lot of people, they'll get a lead, they'll follow up with it one time, like, oh, it's a bad lead. That's the biggest objection I hear from sales reps. Like, oh, the leads are not good. So I'm like, okay, how many times do you follow up with a lead? Oh, I messaged them and texted them and called them one time. What makes it a bad lead? And they're like, oh, they didn't answer. I'm like, dude, what if they were busy? Or what if they were doing something and completely forgot? You think painting is the top priority in their head? You have to keep re-engaging. I'm like, you just followed up one time and then you let it go? You just said it's a bad lead? Or you put them on the phone and then they were like, oh, this is not, just objections and stuff, and you just stop. You literally disqualify the lead, or you just bullshitted around on the phone with them and just disqualify the lead. I'm like, it's not a bad lead. It's a bad sales rep. Until the person tells you like, no, I don't want to buy, or they tell you fuck off, the lead is good, 100%. And then you still have to get one of the two. Fuck off, or no, I cannot afford you, or you close the deal. That's it's a numbers game. You have to, and even if you do an estimate, then it's a numbers game to follow up with them. How many, like for example, like our sales reps on their spreadsheets, they have follow up 1. They write notes. They're like, oh, I followed up and they said they're waiting for 2 more quotes. Follow up number 2. Oh, they're waiting for 1 more quote. They're going to give me the final answer in 3 days. Follow up number 3. Ended up going with another one. Why? When we do the third follow-up, we have to ask, why did they decide? Was it something that we did? Was it the price? We need feedback. That's how we become better. We need feedback. Follow-up number 3, like, they end up doing another company. Our price was too high. Next, follow-up 1, 2, 3, close. Why did they close? Oh, they liked our pricing. They liked the way we communicated. They liked our process, the warranties. Boom. Take notes. Even when you close, you have to take notes because you need to identify what you did right. Or when they don't show up after our follow-up sequence stops at number 5. But these guys were doing 7x. Now we're going to add 2 more. We want to be top performing sales reps. So even us, we're not perfect. We want to be better. So now we're going to do things that we're doing better. And then if somebody is a no-show, you have to stay consistent until you get an answer because things come up.
Number 5, top sales reps, they know how to create their own opportunities or get their own referrals. Also, they're always looking for a close. They love the thrill of sales. They don't sit on their ass and wait to get the next lead if things are slow. They go out there and do outreach, generate their own leads, create key relationships.
So I have a good analogy that I heard on Alex Hormozzi's podcast where he used to describe sales rep. And he goes as, there are 3 types of salespeople: dogs, horses, and tigers. The dog salespeople, the dog needs to be constantly fed or it will starve. It needs constant love and fuss and belly rubs to keep it happy. Then the horse will gallop as long as you keep whipping it. But as soon as you stop whipping it, it will slow down to a trot. Then you have the tiger. The tiger kills for sport. It can eat a huge meal, but then when it sees a rabbit runs past, it still pounces and kills. You need to be a sales rep that's like a tiger, because you can sustain performance and you love sales. You love the thrill of the hunt, getting the next sale, getting the next close. And that was a great analogy by Alex Hormozzi that he put on his podcast. I was like, this is so true. You have the sales rep that you constantly need to be babysitting them and encouraging them and be like, oh, good job, do this, and now let's go to the next one. And then it's so true. I've dealt with those guys. And then you have the ones that you have to like fucking be on their head and be like, hey man, did you do your spreadsheets? Did you follow up with these leads? make sure you do this, make sure you do this. Like they're workhorses. They can perform, but they need, to crack the whip on them. And then you have the fucking tigers. Those are the guys who they're gonna go out there. They're gonna be constantly hunting. Do you think a tiger, you can go by a tiger at 9 o'clock in the morning and that's the only time it'll fucking kill you? And then at 10 o'clock, it's taking a nap and it's still gonna get up and fucking kill you and rip your face off. It's the same thing with the sales reps. They always look for opportunities. For example, me, I'm not saying I'm a tiger, but when I'm out, and let's say I'm out with my brother or like friends and I'm having fun, if an opportunity presents itself, I'm still gonna try and create a key relationship, get estimates, anything. If I get a lead that's trying to close on the phone, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I'll still work the lead because I want to close. The opportunity is there at the time that's presenting itself. I'm ready to take it. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I don't work past 8 o'clock. Give me a call tomorrow. You just lost it right there. Or like sales rep, like, oh yeah, I only work 9 to 5. I'm like, no, dude. When you're in sales, you work 24/7. There is no 9 to 5. If you want to be a good salesperson, if you want to be a dog,
9 to 5 it is.
Like just show up, eat your treats, and get your belly rubbed. The 9 to 5 is fine, but if you want to be a killer and actually be good in sales, and when you're a business owner, you want to be a tiger. You want to be able to identify the opportunities at any times. And top performing sales reps, that's how they think. They're like, okay, there's opportunities anywhere I go. If I go to a nice restaurant, if I go to the casino, if I go to the gym, if I go anywhere, you have
grocery store, whatever.
Yeah, everywhere. You have opportunities to close or create an opportunity for your organization or for your business.
6, top sales reps self-audit themselves every day. They take notes of what they said and what they did. They identify what they did right or wrong. They know that's the only way they'll improve, and they hold themselves accountable with those self-audits. That's something very important that we started doing, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. Like we self-audit ourselves. We give ourselves feedback after each sales appointment, what we could have done, what we could have said, what was right, and then what we skipped.
Exactly. The best time to do that is as soon as you're done with the appointment and then everything is fresh in your head, you pull up any notebook or whatever you take notes on, and you sit in your car for like 5 to 10 minutes and you write down like, oh, I sounded pretty dumb when I said that, or I could have said this better, or I talked too much on this phase, or like step number 7, I completely skipped price conditioning and I presented a price and they got a sticker shock. What other? I forgot to explain my process. I didn't explain the warranties as I should. I forgot to do the about page. I forgot to do this, so I should have done this better. As soon as you're done with sales appointment, you go in if you want to be a killer, you go in your car and you like have your self-audit sheet and you take notes on that. And you're like, okay, on the next appointment, I'm going to make sure I improve on this. I'm going to make sure I spend a little bit more time price conditioning, or I'm going to spend more time on the warm-up phase, or I went too fast on the price presentation. All these things, you need to be self-aware and recognize what you're doing wrong. Otherwise, you're not going to have somebody shadowing all the time, or you're not going to have somebody listening to your recordings all the time. You need to be self-aware of what you're saying, what comes out of your mouth at all times. And then you need to take notes. And then you keep track of your performance. And then you need to do reps. You need to do as many of those appointments as possible to become better.
And that's always a good indicator to see if you close a job like, hey, I closed a job, this is what I did right, this is what I did right. Or if you don't close a job, you can see, hey, what could I have done better to actually get it to the closing table?
Correct.
That's a very good indicator, giving yourself feedback after every appointment. Self-auditing yourself.
Self-auditing is very important.
Number 7, top salespeople listen more than they talk. The best salespeople don't blabber nonsense and trying to sell people. They make them buy.
So yeah, like I said, I was listening to some calls of some of my consulting clients, and then I shadowed some reps the last few months. And the best sales rep, they listen twice as much as they talk. They ask the right questions and they just listen. If you don't shut up on a sales call and you can't let the customer let a word out, you just lost the sale right there. And then those reps, they care more about their prospects than themselves, meaning they're there to just listen to them and then address any worries that they might have or try to fulfill their needs. I remember one time I brought my friend Anthony, Sons of Monaco Painting, out to an estimating with me in Michigan, And he's like, dude, you were talking so much. You didn't fucking shut up. I was like, yeah, I was trying to fucking overwhelm the lady with information and just showcase that I'm an expert. And then to him, it sounded good. But then I went back. I'm like, okay. Because I never had anybody to shadow me. I never had anybody to train me. I never had anybody to give me feedback. But that was a turning point for me. I was like, okay, I need to stop talking so much. I need to ask more questions and let the customer talk more than I do. And that was like about 4 years ago. 4 years ago. I was like, shit, I got to change this because I'm overwhelming these people with information just so I can sound smart and I know what I'm talking about, but I'm not really getting anywhere and I'm not understanding what their needs and wants are because I'm not asking the right questions. And then listening to these calls and listening to top performing reps, they always ask more questions. And they speak very little just so they can guide the conversation. And then they're always in control of the conversation, which it's very impressive to see some people how they do it. The customer, they'll be like, they'll open up completely based on their questions that they're writing. And we're working on a script right now, what questions to ask your customers. I'll be pretty fire when we release it. But yeah, the best sales rep, they ask questions, they talk less on the customer, and they just listen. They're good listeners.
And ask the right questions, not just nonsense.
You got to ask the right question. You can ask them if they fucking, what they had for lunch or whatever. So I think that's great for number 7. I don't think I want to add anything else. But yeah, don't blubber nonsense. I listened to about 30 hours of recordings for all my consulting clients. Because when you work with us, the first thing we do is we listen to your current sales process and how you engage in customers. And then we start working on creating a process and then implementing the scripts. It's crazy. A lot of these guys just fucking talk about bullshit.
Yeah, you showed me that one recording one time, and then you asked me, what's wrong with this one? And it was a 15-minute recording of a call. And 5 minutes in, I'm like, I haven't really gotten any information. It's just been blabber nonsense. Yeah. It's just like two friends talking. Like,
literally.
I haven't
it's
gotten
like me calling my high school buddy, Abby, and we're shooting the shit. Like there's no point for the conversation. We're just killing time or, catching up. But
it was just a hard listen.
Yeah, it was so hard. And I had to go through, you only listened to one. I had to go through 30 hours of those. So don't complain. Anyways, but yeah, what you can say in 5 words, don't say to the 100. Keep it at 5 words. If you can communicate the message in 5 words, just keep it at 5. Also, if you're spending 15 minutes on the phone with somebody, it's too long, especially if you're pre-screening or if you try, because you should be able to pre-screen a lead in like 5 minutes tops, 5 to 6 minutes. Anything past that, then you either trying to sell them through the phone and close them through the phone, or you just lost it. You're just talking nonsense. You should be able to, you're pre-screening, and then that's why those top performing sales reps, they can do more leads, they can do more of these calls because they go straight to the point. 5 minutes per call, boom, good, qualified, set up the appointment. Next, disqualify, couldn't, whatever, they put the notes, they couldn't afford me, or whatever the disqualification metrics were, next. They go straight to the point. That's why, like you said, it's a numbers game. It's volume. And if you're spending 20 minutes on a call, you cannot do as much volume. That's why you have to narrow it down. You have to talk less. You have to pre-qualify people and sell people with less words.
Number 8. Top sales reps, they know how to close. Sales is there to just increase the likelihood of a prospect to buy. You still have to close. Also, they're not shy to have the difficult conversations while closing or while handling objections.
A lot of people are shy. A lot of people are shy to talk money. A lot of people are shy to ask for money. And then they combat it, or like they try to like defeat that by being overly friendly. And then they'll try to be friends with the customer, they'll have a coffee. Like, I'm like, no, you're there fucking get the job, close the job, and make sure the customer gets their needs and wants satisfied. You're not there because you're a shy painter and you're trying to be nice and you're trying to like, no, you're there to close. You're there because you're the professional. You have to talk and have the difficult conversations with them and be like, hey, this will cost you anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 Is it something that you're willing to pay right now? Or if you want to be less aggressive, be like, hey, this project ranges, if you're good at price conditioning especially, this project ranges anywhere from X amount to X amount. Is this something that you're considering paying, or is this something that you plan on paying? You have to have those difficult conversations with the customers. So because your end goal is to close them. You cannot just be a nice guy and then be all over the place. And I saw that a lot, especially with people that shadowed doing. No, ask the hard questions. Like we said, the main goal is to close and take care of your customers' needs. You're not there to be their best friend and shoot the shit. That's the thing. An estimate shouldn't take more than 35 to 45 minutes. If you're there longer than that, then something is wrong. Because again, it's a numbers game. You have to do volume. You have to be not in and out. You still have to build rapport, but everything has to, every step of the process needs to be purpose driven.
Yeah, and again, I like the first bullet point. Sales is different. Yeah, you still have to close.
Yeah, like we said, sales is there to just increase the likelihood of the prospect buying. You still have to close. If you're just expecting to sell, then everybody can sell. I can sell the shit out of anything, but can I close? Can I convince my customer to buy it? Sales and closing is two different things.
Yeah, in my past examples where I was getting the client excited and everything, but didn't get the deposit, so I wasn't a good closer.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it comes down to. Plus, I'm sure I've spoken about a few estimates in the beginning. He was shy. He didn't talk money at all. I'm like, dude, we're here to get paid. How are we gonna get paid if we don't talk money? They probably assume we're gonna do the job for free. Or
so those it's a charitable organization, free painters.
And you have to make sure you understand you're there to be an educator to your customer and make them realize whatever you're selling them will solve a problem or a need for them. I see way too many painters going there and thinking they can win a job by just being a nice guy and being their friend. It doesn't work, guys. I put a good example here. You want to read it?
Which one?
The last bullet point.
Look back when you were younger.
Yeah.
Look back when you were younger. You have the nice guy, can I get a hug guy? He was great to have around and a joy, and everybody felt comfortable around him. But how many times do you think that you closed?
That guy probably didn't close one time. I guarantee it, guys. He was a horrible closer. He was, I'm sure a lot of you get what I'm talking about, but that's what a lot of you painters are doing out there. You're just a nice guy. They get all the information for free. They get all the value. And then they end up going with the different guy. That's what a lot of you are doing. You go there, you give all this value, you spend an hour and a half in an estimate, you become their friend, you have cookies and coffee with them, and next thing you know, they end up choosing somebody else. You don't want to be the nice guy. You want to be the closer that's there to address the wants and needs. And don't be shy. It's okay. We're there to have a difficult conversation with them. It's going to cost this much. It's going to take this long. This is what can go wrong. What are your biggest worries about getting this project done? These are questions that you need to be talking about.
And the more confident you are whilst talking about the difficult conversations, the more trustworthy they will feel more confident.
Because they can tell you're seasoned. You've been through this before. Like you've done this many times. They can tell you have an expertise. And also I like, especially when I'm selling, I like talking about the customer. What can possibly go wrong in this project? And I also like addressing if something goes wrong, I know how to fix it. Or I'm going to fix it this way. Or I'm going to do this. Those are the difficult conversations and questions you'll be asking that's going to lead you closer to the close and getting that check and living out there. A lot of times you guys see me posting on my stories, me, customers signing on the spot and giving me a check and all that. That's the best way to do it. Right there, when the customer, like Karmelo said, you get them excited, you tell them the project, what's going to go on and all that. That's the highest chance of closing at that time. That's why you need to have the right forms, you need to have the right process, and you need to have like step number 10, closing. You need to have good closing processes. Hey, how does this sound? Are you ready to go? Boom. Give me the signature. We can as soon as I get the deposit today, I'll check my calendar as soon as I go back to the office, we'll get you on the schedule in the next week or two. You need to be like that. You need to be asking for the close.
Yeah, checking the calendar, like, hey, when we can make this work is very important.
You have to be.
You're there in person. You can make things work out way faster than just going back and forth through text or call.
Also, if there's any objections, you can handle them right then and there. Any objections, any obstacles. You're like, oh man, this sounds good, but it came out a little bit more expensive. And you're like, oh, why do you think it's more expensive? Or what did you think it was going to cost? Or what other estimates did you get? All these things, it's better to address them right there and there where they're excited to buy from you because you did such a good job selling them. Now you want to close them, but they have X amount of objections. You're right there. They like you. Handle those objections right there. Have those different conversations right there. And then try and close the job. A lot of times when we get objections, I try to like, okay, what is it going to take to get the job? What do we need to do? And then going back to the downselling episode and all those things, you can start implementing techniques that are going to help you handle those objections and then close the job.
Number 9, they don't complain and bitch. They create their own luck and work with whatever assets they have in their disposal. You'll never hear a killer salesperson complain about the quality of leads or how many leads they're getting. They'll create opportunities with whatever they have. For example, if they get unqualified leads, they don't care. They'll still work on them just so they can get reps in, practice their scripts, and become better. One example that comes to mind, this one guy that you just sent me a few screenshots lately, like, yeah, man, I'm not getting any good leads. It's like 150 leads burned through.
Unbelievable.
They're all bottom of the barrel leads, man.
If somebody's complaining about the leads, the first thing I think is like, these guys are fucking idiots. Because think of a lead as practice. So like we said earlier, you have to get reps in. So nobody's perfect in sales. I'm not perfect in sales. I know for a fact I'm not as good as I want to be in sales, but I'm decent. So every time I get an estimate, a lead or whatever, I still look of ways to get the reps in and how can I improve. Those guys that are not the dogs or the horses that complain about those leads. They won't see any opportunity for growth. They won't see any opportunity at all of becoming and getting a positive outcome for dealing with leads. That's why I don't like working with those reps. And that guy is probably going to get terminated because all he does is complain about the quality of the leads. He's not showing any improvement. And I'm like, dude, I'm literally burning through leads. I'm like, okay. He's like, oh no. He was like, oh yeah, I did X amount of leads and then 3 of them were good. So I'm like, what happened to the 3 that were good? Why didn't you close them? Oh, they didn't want to do this and they didn't want to do that. I'm like, dude, you have an excuse for everything. Like, not one time in our 30-minute conversation, you came to me like, I think I did this wrong. How do you think I can improve it? All the time, you're bitching and complaining about the quality of the leads, about the customer, about why they didn't want to spend money with you, why they were like on limited budget. I'm like, did you showcase value? Did you do this? They're like, oh, no. I'm like, did you go? I'm like,
no shit.
No shit, you didn't fucking get any jobs. And then you complain about the quality of leads. What do you think? You just go, like, what do you think Karmelo, like, let's say Karmelo. Karmelo, he's a killer.
I just show up, they show me what they want done, I give them a price, and that's it?
Yeah, do you think that's how he works for us? You think he just goes and brings checks back and it's like, oh yeah, he spends 5 minutes and comes back? No, he still has to do the legwork. He still has to sell. And that's the one thing, like, I'm going to stop doing this because a lot of people come out with us and then we close them and they think it's easy and they try to copy us. And they're like, oh, it's the same way as Karmelo and Redion do it. I'm like, no, it's not. You have to do reps and reps and reps and reps. We've been doing this for 6 years. So you guys think you go on 10 estimates, you become a seasoned sales rep. No, you have to do hundreds of them, thousands of them. Like we said in the beginning, we're horrible at it. You have to be bad in the beginning, but you have to be aware of what you're doing. And you can, I used to complain about the quality of leads all the time too. I'd be like, oh yeah, network sucks. This person, they don't want to pay. But I would never sat back when I was in the beginning stage of the business to look that my sales process sucked. Or I was going in there and sounding like a retard because I was blabbering all the time and I was fucking like stumbling and not knowing how to continue to the next process. And I didn't know how to explain things and I didn't know how to do a lot of those things I'm doing now. And I was just blaming the leads and I was blaming the quality of the customers. I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are cheap and they don't want to pay, but I never really built any value with them. And those are the first signs. Before we terminate a sales rep or before I decide to not work with somebody anymore, no matter how much coaching I've given them and they still complain about the same things, I'm like, okay, dude, I don't think you're meant for sales, man. You have to be mentally tough, and also you have to be self-aware. You always have to think that it's your fault. You cannot blame the customer. You cannot blame the lead. You cannot blame whatever. It's always your fault because you probably didn't do something right. And I hate people who complain and bitch, like we said. Somebody that, even when people, like, I've worked with reps that they don't get enough leads, and they go get their own leads. They'll do outreach, they'll do outbound, they'll try and build key relationships. Like, you guys can go check an Instagram video I posted on my personal page. You can see how one of our reps, he literally got a $20,000 job from talking to somebody at Starbucks, because he's looking for these opportunities. He's not just waiting to get fed an opportunity. He's looking for them. He's always on the hunt. He's always making sure he can convert. He can get a sale. He can get a close. And that's how you have to be.
And then number 10, and I think it's probably one of the most important ones, they track data. They have their own spreadsheets. They keep track of everything they do, how many leads they get, how many they book, how many they close, how many times they have to follow up. They keep track of their closing percentage and ratio, and they set goals. They try to achieve and beat those goals constantly.
I think that's the most important part. I think that's the most important thing out of all 10. Goes back to like self-auditing, tracking, keeping track of how many leads you got, keeping track of how many appointments you booked, keeping track of how many estimates you went at, keeping track of how many you closed, keeping track of why you didn't close them, keeping up how many times you had to follow up with each customer, keeping track, what else can you keep track of?
Basically, the number of all these, they will show you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Like if you're booking a lot of appointments in person and you're not closing as much, you need to refine your sales process. Or if you're booking less appointments and then compared to the leads you get, then your pre-screening method or your qualification process is not good. Also, or maybe the leads are bad.
Or maybe the leads. Shit. The leads might be bad too. If I'm getting you fucking leads all the time in the hood, obviously the leads are bad. But if I'm getting you $600 to $1 million houses, then those people most likely will buy if you showcase them value. Like we said before, just because they're rich doesn't mean they want to spend money. You have to make them want to buy because they see the value. And it's with everything. And goes back to even with like tracking the data, also the feedback. For example, if Karmelo or our sales rep, they didn't have those spreadsheets and they came to me and I didn't have that data or like the feedback that they get back from the customers, like, oh, you were too expensive, you do this. I cannot help you. You can't go to a consultant or a sales coach if you don't have those to help you identify why you're not doing good. You have to have that feedback, the notes, the trackers. So when you're looking for external help, you have all your homework done, and then they can just go. Like I can look at a sales rep data sheets and then the trackers and all the leads that we're working, and I can within 10 minutes I can tell them what to tweak, what to work on. I can listen to one sales call. I can be like, okay, dude, you're doing this wrong. Change this. Let's try this for the next 5 calls and let's see how it does. You need that. Otherwise, if you come to me and you're like, oh yeah, I don't know, I haven't been closing well. I'm like, okay, show me the numbers. You're like, oh, I don't have any numbers. I'm like, okay, how do you expect me to help you? That's why the first thing now we switched our program because we had people shadowing us and they were bombing. Now what we do is we'll listen to their first 10 calls, how their process works, and we'll start working on one thing at a time to improve their sales process. Because also another thing, when you're trying to overwhelm somebody and you give them too much information, they just lose it and they don't do anything of what you taught them. It works better this way. We see what tendencies you have, then we start changing those tendencies one by one step at a time. And then we look at your
weak points.
Your weak points, and also look at your trackers. Like you have to track. Like that's why our custom sales tracker, when we send it to people, it's like we need you to track everything that has to do with sales, leads, how many people you talk to, give us some recordings, and then even if you're not working with us, you still need to be doing those things and hold yourself accountable on all the numbers, and you have to set goals. For example, like, okay, I need to sell 5 jobs this week, or I need to sell 10 jobs this month, whatever your goals might be. And then always strive to hit those goals because they're going to hold you accountable. And then you're going to be like, okay, this month I sucked. I came nowhere near my goals. What do I need to change? And you backtrack and you look back at what you did, and then you can start improving on that and building up on that and becoming better. Okay, so that will be the top 10 things that I saw killers, tigers, like Hormozy said in his podcast, like they kill sales.
I would recommend people to start recording a few of their phone calls if they have phone calls, and also keep the spreadsheet, like you said, just so they can self-audit themselves.
Yeah.
Those are a few ways that you can document and go over and brush up and refine your sales process.
Also, listen to yourself. Like when we first started this podcast, we're not experts right now, but like I feel like on the first episode we sounded really stupid. Like especially myself, I'm like, oh, I sound like a dumbass. But the more I listen to myself, like, okay, maybe I'll change this. I'll do this. I'll change this. Maybe I'll say this different. And like now it's becoming way easier than it was 20 something episodes before. And same with sales. I recorded myself. I recorded my brother. I recorded our guys. And I'm like, okay, I sounded pretty dumb on this. Maybe I'll change this part. Maybe instead of spending 10 minutes on the phone, let's try and shorten the questions and ask the more important questions. So listening to yourself, I know it's a little bit awkward, but also it helps a lot tremendously on being self-aware. Because even if you have somebody shadow you, you're always your self's toughest critic. Like, have you seen actors when they say like, oh, I don't watch the movies I play in because I feel like I look stupid or whatever?
Yeah.
It's the same with us. Like, we are ourselves toughest critic because like, oh, I sound so bad here. But that's good because when you identify where you sound bad or what you said is wrong, then you can improve upon it. Start by recording yourself and start by keeping track of your data and your information and the feedback that you get from customers. Because even if you lost a job, you still need the feedback, whatever it might be. Even if you won the job, you can be like, hey, Mrs. Homeowner, what made you choose us? I love it. I can't wait to do your project, but what was the turning point? In the beginning, when you're trying to become a seasonal sales rep and get experience, you have to ask those questions because customers are our best feedback. No matter how good your coach is, you have to hear the feedback from the customers. And how do you become better at sales? You just go out there and sell. You can read all the books, you can get all the coaching, you can spend all the time in the world with me doing one-on-one training. But the best way to become better at sales is getting those reps in. That's why in the beginning, when you're trying to be good at sales, every lead that you get, you're trying to set up an appointment. You go out there, you get the reps in, you audit yourself, you track so you can become better. Even if it's a bad lead, just go for practice. You need the practice. You need to stop being shy. You need to start working on your script and your process. Very important. In the beginning, there's no bad leads because you get practice with them, which is what you need most in the beginning.
Yeah, you can keep practicing on your own the script, but once you get there to the client, and what if you accidentally freeze up?
Yeah.
If you don't do those reps in, then...
It's a good saying in Greek, but I don't know how to translate it in English. Anyways, all right. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that was mostly it. Just always document yourself, self-audit, give yourself feedback. Most important thing.
And then go sell.
Tracking.
And go get those reps in. There's no better practice than selling. That's why they say, oh, what's the best degree to get in school to become a business owner? I mean, there's no theoretical degree that's the best. You just go start a business. Go out there, start a business, and you learn business. And it's the same sales. You can read all the theory, all the books. You can learn from the best guys out there. But until you start implementing and start practicing and getting reps in and getting punched in the face and fucking up a few times, you're not going to be good. All right, so this will wrap up this episode of the Dirty Painters Podcast.
Be sure to follow our business on Instagram at Olympian Painting and also our personal pages, Olympian_Redion, Olympian_Karmelo, and also keep up with the Dirty Painters Podcast.
If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a fellow painter or tradie. Until next time, this is Redion.
And I'm Karmelo.
Signing off from the Dirty Painters Podcast. Thank you, guys.
Take care.